For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber. Instant analysis of Fall Camp Practice 7. If you want to call it a practice, it was a very light day today. A typical Monday, though, that Helton said.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is when Clay says we want to get them into game week and routine as soon as possible. This is what they normally do on Mondays, and they don't call it a practice. So we got to be here for, a practice that really wasn't exactly a practice. It's a loosening up. They don't do so many things. When they get into 11 on 11, they're mostly in, kind of walk-through mode, that kind of thing. So, this is what they do on Mondays to kind of get loose. And it is the first of 6 straight days. This is the longest week of the year. Yeah. So they're going Monday through Saturday, 6 straight, back to back to back to back to however many that is. And so this was going to be the easy one, but they let us come watch. So normally we don't come on Mondays because we don't consider it a practice.
Mm-hmm. I think the most notable thing from practice, Vianney Talamaiva, he was able to come back, get some action in the teamwork scrimmaging portion of practice. Other than that, rehab island stayed the same, and you kind of expect that because nothing really happened today.
Right, you didn't need to push a guy back. One thing we did find out, the hip flexor for Daniel and Mater Baby, they're now talking about, they've sort of agreed that they would like him back for mock game week, which is 2 weeks before the season starts. So that's kind of the time that they're looking for him to be here. And I don't think we've known that until today, that they've sort of agreed that they're not going to push him, not going to try to get him back sooner. But for guys like Marvell Tell and Jakari Godfrey and those guys, I don't think they felt like they needed to get them back today. Although we saw, Jakari came by before practice and he was out running around, just jogging around campus and loosening up that hamstring. A sense of they're getting a little, I mean, when Vianney comes back, that's a good thing. He was back in there with the first team at right guard. So that gives you a little more sense of, okay, this first team line is starting to look like where it's going to be. I don't think we have any fix on the 2 centers, Toa and Nico. It's going to be one of them, and one of them will be probably at left tackle, and one of them might be at right tackle, although they really do like what they're seeing out of Clayton Johnston at left tackle. He's up to about 300 pounds now, and he's in there. Although, again, Clay keeps saying the 2 true freshmen, Austin Jackson and Andrew Voorhees, will get their shot with the first team before we get into the season. But he's thinking the most you would expect for those guys is maybe to be challenging for a starting spot by game 4.
Mm-hmm. Because it was a lighter day, we saw more work from Matt Fink and Jack Sears. And as far as the backup quarterback position goes, Helton says that the redshirt status of Matt Fink does play way into his decision as far as backup quarterback goes.
Yeah, that's Clay being Clay and being honest and saying, yeah, you can't, you've got one guy who's already used his red shirt, Matt Fink, and he's had that extra year. You have one fella, Jack Sears, who hasn't used it, and it is available to him. And, if it was as valuable as it was for Sam Darnold, and as he said, Jack Sears does not have to be the starter this year. Mm-hmm. So, you can play that whichever way you think is going to be the best. But you would think right now, Matt Fink has clearly the inside track, but that doesn't mean that Jack Sears does not have an opportunity to beat him out for that spot.
Mm-hmm. As far as the coaches' polls go, that actually was mentioned today. Someone asked him where he ranks USC, and he said, that's a personal decision, right?
Yeah, he'd rather keep it private, he said. Because, I mean, we were all around for the whole, 2012 Lane Kiffin debacle, if you want to call it, and where I wouldn't vote for USC number 1. Unfortunately, he did. USA Today outed him. So, Clay, I said, do you vote where you really absolutely think they belong, or do you, think, well, maybe I should move them up a little bit, or maybe I should drop them down a little bit? And Clay just looked at me, just smiled and said, I'd rather keep that private, And I said, you learned your lesson, didn't you? He said, he kind of laughed and walked off. Yep, he learned his lesson.
Cheeky Dan, always asking the tough questions. Lastly, Helton actually got a little throwing in today. We saw an extra throwing portion of practice, but not from who you'd expect it from.
Yeah, that was a fun finish. Kind of an audition for flanker passers. And they've got a lot of them. Clay got to throw the first pass, the lateral to a flanker at the sideline. And Deontay Burnett can really throw the ball. Jenny Harris was a high school quarterback. He can throw the ball. Tyler Vaughns was a pitcher in baseball. He can really throw the ball. And we already know Jalen Green can throw the ball. Mm-hmm. I think Jamel Cook got in there and threw kind of a duck, and before it got even halfway there, they were all laughing and giggling because, 4 of those guys can really throw it. So that was fun to kind of anticipate. You don't see many teams that have like multiple guys where you could run that play with. Yeah. They've got, it's not a matter of if this guy's in, watch out, they might run that play. If you've got 4 guys that you can do that with, it's kind of a weapon. And they may be doing that more than, say, kicking a field goal from the 35 or whatever at this point. They also did one thing that I think it was very wise. They started working on the pooch punts. When you got the ball, say, at the 40-yard line and you don't have a real good shot at a first down and you're probably not going to try a 50-yard field goal, they're probably going to be doing some pooch punting. And they've got some, with Deontay and Jack Jones and Ajene, they've got some people who can really get down there and catch that ball before it gets into the end zone. So that was good to see.
Mm-hmm. If you want to catch that throwing portion with Helton, Ryan actually put it on his Instagram, so you can check that out. But that's going to wrap it up for practice number 7 of fall camp for Dan Weber. I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.